So thanks a million for joining us, Katie. We really appreciate it. Students, thank you very, very much. It's so nice to have you all back, actually. We missed you over the summer. And as we were saying there, if you leave yourself on mute, that would be ideal, and leave your photos off. And then what we'll do is any questions at all, just pop them in the chat function. But what I might start is by asking Katie to tell us a little bit about Mazars for those of us maybe who don't know.
Yes, of course. So Mazars is a professional services firm. So we are one of the top 10 in Ireland. We're number 7. So we're very similar to the likes of a KPMG or a PwC, maybe one of the names you might know a little bit more of. But we sit number 7 within the top 10. So I guess where we're positioned in the market is a challenger or an influential outsider to that of the Big Four. So we're growing it phenomenally even since when I started, and we don't want to be one of the Big Four. That's where we want to sit differently to them. So although we might grow to be the size of one of those firms, where we want to sit is we want to be an outsider. We want to provide a different service or a different way of providing the same service to the clients. So we do take on graduates and interns every year. We took on, I think, 45 graduates who will join us in 2 weeks' time, and we took on about 30 interns as well last year. So it's really great to see everybody. We have people coming from different backgrounds. And yeah, so I won't go into too much. We might cover off some of the questions that you're going to ask, and then we'd nothing to talk about then after that.
So actually, that is one of the questions that was coming through the chat, is like, what different areas do you recruit in? And maybe if you could give us, I don't know, do you know off the top of your head a guideline number of the different, how many go into audit or tax or whatever?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we recruit audit, outsourced accounting, tax, financial advisory, corporate finance, transaction services, internal audit, IT audit, and that would be from Dublin, Galway and Limerick. So the most we would recruit in would be audit and assurance. So we would probably take, I think this year we have 28 coming into audit and assurance. That would be the majority of the area that we recruit in. Then I think about 10 in tax, and then the rest would be spread out among the rest of the different areas, depending on, kind of what the business needs are or how much that specific area has grown as well over the last year or so.
Brilliant, brilliant. And can I ask you now, say if somebody is doing the audit or assurance route, is it the ACA or the ACCA qualification you prefer them to do?
We actually have people who do both. So it's really a preference of what the person likes to do. So, and we also have mentors then for each of those lines. So if somebody chooses to ACA, their mentor and buddy will be somebody who has done the ACA route. And then if somebody wants to do ACCA, we have a lot of international students who do ACCA, because if they decide to move back home or move somewhere else afterwards, that's more transferable than if they do move home. So your ACCA, you'd be paired with somebody who has also done the ACCA previously, so they can help you out.
Oh, that's so flexible. That's great. And say with the tax, do you like them to do the accountancy qualification and then the tax exams, or do you prefer them to go straight in and do tax?
So we have some people who go in straight away and do the tax first.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who wants to do the accounting and tax, we recommend doing the accountancy exams first, and then you can stay on for an extended contract to do the tax exams afterwards.
Perfect, perfect. And you mentioned the international students there.
Yes.
Can I ask you, do you recruit students on, a student visa maybe?
Yeah. So I think if you're doing your exams, I think you can get a stamp 1A.
Yeah.
And for the other areas, say consulting or maybe IT audit, I think if you've done a degree or master's, I think now might correct you'd be eligible for a stamp 1G anyway, which would give you 2 years of employment. So even if you're not doing accountancy exams in, say, IT audit, then you can still work for 2 years, and then you might be able to apply for critical skills then afterwards.
Perfect. God, that's so helpful. And would you mind giving us a little bit of information on your recruitment process?
Yes, of course. So, of course, very different this year. So the time frame is the same. So we are all the professional services firms, KPMG, Deloitte, everybody is governed by the Chartered Accountants Ireland in terms of the time frame that we go by. So applications are open now. and they close on the 14th of October, and that will be the same for all of the professional services firms. The following week, so the end of that week, then we would be shortlisting CVs, and we would shortlist people to do an online assessment that we have, which is 45 minutes. And there's no prior study needed. It's kind of a general intelligence and behavioral assessment. So kind of your basic numeracy skills, your understanding of the basic English language and stuff like that. And then just maybe how, if you're more of a dominant person or an interpersonal person, and that gives us an idea of where you might fit into specific teams. Then the following week, so the 14th, applications close and we send out tests that week. The following week then, or the last week in October, we have all of our interviews. And then the week after that, then offers would be made. So everything's nearly done and completed within a 2-week period from once the deadline closes. This year, it's very tight. Yeah, it's very quick. This year, usually our process would be, we kind of like to let the graduates interact with our current trainees so that you can actually understand what it's like. So it's not just an interview. We have an open day where there's kind of a half an hour social aspect where you can chat to all the trainees and see what it's like, then a half an hour interview. So of course that we're not able to do it that way this year because everything is going to be online. But what we're going to have before the interviews is an Ask the Trainee session. So anybody who is interviewing with Audit, I will have a presentation with 3 or 4 audit people on a call similar to this, where they can ask them any questions, whether it's life at Mazars, what the exams are like, what type of clients they work with, and we'll have the same for tax and financial advisory and all of that as well. And the reason we're doing that is actually because there's some exciting news coming from Mazars in the next couple of weeks, which we want to be able to, which actually comes in the middle of our graduate recruitment. So we want to be able to launch and explain it to anybody who is interviewing as well. Now, I can't give any more details away, but it would be exciting for the people who will be on the call for us to go through this kind of story that's happening.
Okay, brilliant. And I suppose one question I got actually a few times on Instagram this morning was, look, what's going to make a CV stand out to you?
So what makes a CV stand out to me, what I really like is to see somebody's hobbies. I know a lot of people I've seen this year, maybe they don't put them on, they maybe push achievements or the skill sets they have, which is very important. But I guess from Mazars, we hire the person. So it's not necessarily the skills that they have, but it's the person and the difference that they would make to the company. So it could be smaller things. Like I always know, for me personally, if somebody plays the piano or the guitar up to a certain level, that to me has quite, they're determined and they're very dedicated to improving on that skill. So that stands out to me. Or, if somebody is, a captain of a rugby team or something, that stands out to me as leadership skills. So I always say, really do put your hobbies on, no matter how small, even if, you like reading or going to the cinema, that could be a talking point for somebody at an interview. So definitely let your personality shine through. Of course, we want to see your work experience and your educational background, but what makes you as well is what we want to see. Brilliant.
And what else now? Because I suppose, how many apply to your graduate programme, would you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, well, already we have 800, and it hasn't, of course, we haven't even started the graduate fairs yet. So we do get thousands of applications. So there is a small application form when you're filling it in your CV. So in terms of kind of why are you picking this area, or why are you choosing Mazars? So it is good to actually tell us what it is, what is interesting you about this role. Why do you want to go into audit, or why have you chosen to apply to Mazars? And I would definitely, some of the answers we get in there are really inspiring. And whether it's that person's values match with our values and the Mazars way, or if they told us that we have, one of the questions is, what's the benefits of college or university to you? And that could be it's just open them up to different cultures and different people, and cultural intelligence and emotional intelligence is really important these days. So even something like that is really important. So I would say, do put some effort into the answers that you're putting in when applying. We got last year, one of the ones we got was benefits, and there was no benefits unless I get this job. It's like, okay, well, that's that's not going to make it stands out, but maybe not in a positive way. So I would definitely give as much detail as you can into those answers.
Okay. And you Karina, do you have any other questions there about the recruitment process?
I was just wondering, hi Katie, once again.
Hi.
So in terms of the interview process, would you be able to to give a bit of overview in terms of the format? Because, for example, some of the accounting firms would be using strength-based, and I'm just wondering what's the approach that Mazars takes in terms of interviews?
So our interviews are mainly competency-based. So we would focus on, say, teamwork, ambition, interest in the role, and probably knowledge about Mazars as well. So it's more on the soft skills and your ambition to get into this specific area. So actually, what is your interest to go down this line of work? And of course, you know, if you have work experience, of course, we will touch on that as well. I would always say to anybody, if you have something written on your CV, be able to give examples. So if you have, I'm ambitious, why are you ambitious? If you have, strong organizational skills, give us an example. Why have you got this on your CV? So I wouldn't say just put buzzwords down for the sake of it. Definitely be able to answer anything that you have written down on the CV.
Perfect. And just the other question that would fall slightly outside of the recruitment process is, obviously we're now in slightly different times as if we usually would been. And I'm just wondering, with the first intake that you had within coronavirus time, how did your interns find working from home? Or basically, what does that mean, working from home? Or do you plan to have your interns a few days a week at Mazars? So it would be interesting to hear about that.
Yeah, so I actually, before this call, I had an induction with 11 interns who were starting with us today from UCD and Maynooth. So for the minute, we are all working from home. So everything was sent to them beforehand. They were sent their laptops and monitors and, Mazars goodie bag and a welcome pack that has links to everything they might need, whether it's our systems, instructions on how to create a digital signature, all of that was included. We do allow access to the office. If somebody really would work better in the office and they would prefer to be in the office, we can make that happen. They would just have to do a safety induction. And then, the teams, we are working a share screen. So, they will log in with their buddy or their mentor and go through how all the systems work and, any training that they might need to do. Of course, this is all new. And I think, by the time the next round of interns join us and then the graduates next year, hopefully, we will be back in the office or be able to do a mix of both. But I think there's been a lot of communication and, the managers who are here are happy to take a call on Microsoft Teams or a call on the phone at any time to answer questions. And so that's really important. And what I would always say to the people who are joining us is, you don't have somebody sitting next to you to say, oh, what does this mean or how does this work? So if you're not comfortable to just keep ringing somebody, just jot all your questions down, and our managers will call you once or twice every day, the first week, to see what are your questions. If you've jotted them down, oh, how do I log into this, or even who do I email about this? Just have them all ready and write them down so you remember them. And everybody knows that you're working from home. Everybody knows that these are questions that are going to be asked for. So I would say don't feel silly or be nervous about asking them, because that's what we're expecting. I think if we didn't get any questions, we'd be more worried that there was nothing being done, because nobody's asking us how they do anything.
And something, I'm looking at Instagram here, just some of the questions that came through before we started. And one question was about the kind of clients that you deal with. Can you give us an insight into that, Katie?
I can. So I suppose audit is the largest area that we would bring graduates into. So that's broken into 3 areas. There's financial services. So we do a lot of insurance clients, banks, fund, asset management companies. And that specific department, financial services, has grown 20% year on year for the last 4 years. So there's a lot of work that we have won from the Big Four, and that's particularly because we're offering that kind of a different service. Our approach is maybe a lot more personal. Like, we may not be the size of the Big Four, so therefore we don't necessarily have strict processes in place as they might have in a bigger company. Ours may be a lot more personal and I guess personalized to the client. So we've won a lot of work from those. Then the next one would be public interest entities. So that could be your, your credit unions, that could be your not-for-profit organizations and that kind of stuff. So that's PIE or PI, depending on who you're talking to. And we have privately owned businesses. So that could be anything from sole traders or startups or emerging technology companies. So there's some really nice things to work with there. So in those kind of things, you're working with companies who are growing rapidly and they need to know how to structure their the financial statements or structure their teams, or how do they do an audit at the end of the year? What information do they need to make public? So that could be really interesting as well. And even though Mazars is one of Ireland's top 10 financial services companies, we're actually one of Ireland's top 10 PIE auditors. So we are up there working with one of the big numbers. We have 5 of the top 25 financial services companies within the Ireland in our portfolio. So it's really great for graduates who join us. They, although they're working in maybe a smaller and a close-knit team, they're working on the big clients and names that the Big Four would be working on as well.
And do you put people into sectors? So say, for example, if someone starts, would they be in a financial services sector, or do they deal with loads of different kinds of clients?
So when they join us, they would join one specific area, whether it's financial services or public interest entities or the kind of the technology side. Now, we have seen people move depending on if larger clients come in and they need to shift over, but to really get an understanding on how things work, you would progress in one specific area. But then after you've qualified, we have seen people transfer into different departments. And usually we get an idea from somebody's CV or from their interview on what area they might be best suited to. So, if they've an interest in financial services, or they might have done a lot of hospitality work, or just have an interest in technology, they might be more suited to, POB, where they're working with privately owned businesses or emerging technology. So we kind of like to get that information from interview as well on where they might be suited.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I see 1 or 2 questions there about kind of academic backgrounds. I suppose, do you have minimum leaving cert, or do they need to have been on a 2-1 average, or what's the thoughts there?
No, we don't have a minimum leaving cert points. Again, we take the whole, picture into consideration. Again, that's why I would always say put hobbies or achievements in. We've had somebody before who was homeschooled up until college, so their leaving cert points weren't, they weren't great. They were homeschooled, but they played the piano and guitar up to a level 8, and then they went on to do a science degree. And that person has the smarts. They just necessarily didn't have leaving cert points. That wasn't, their strongest point. So, and of course, international students wouldn't have done a leaving cert either. That's not, we do ask for those points more so to see, maybe how did you do in maths or how did you do in English? We might look at those kind of things. A 2-1 is preferred, but we have people who have joined us on a 2-2 as well, and they've they've passed their exams in flying colors, and it's fine. So again, it's the overall picture that we would look at, not just purely the academics. And we would take people who have come from a science background, who've come from engineering, who've come from a business background. So somebody could have done they could have done their degree in say biology. Mm-hmm. And then and they might have only got a pass or a 2-2, and then they've done a master's in accounting and got a 1-1, and clearly the science just was not for them, and they've excelled in the accountancy exams and the accountancy masters. So you really just have to look at everything and not just what this small piece of paper is telling you.
Yeah. And do you recruit many people who've done the masters, or is it mainly the masters in accounting and get the Cap 2 exemptions, or is it mainly degree students that you tend to recruit?
It's actually a mix of both. So I guess people who have the Cap 2s, who have the Cap 2 exemptions, they would have a shorter contract. That would be 3 years because they have the exams done already. And then the degree students would obviously be doing all of them. But some don't have any exemptions if they're not coming from, a business or accountancy degree. So we do take a mix because obviously some would suit better from a business perspective, being honest, because if 3.5 years, they would do another, say, busy season in another half a year before they finish their contract, and the others won't. So it really is a mix of both of them.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. Now I'm trying to think what other questions there are coming in. There's a few that
Caroline, there are a few more questions, and if you don't mind, I will just kind of to take over for a few moments, just to kind of run through a few questions. So one of our students is asking if you can apply for more than one role at Mazars.
Yes, so you can apply for more than one role. And then there's myself and my colleague are reviewing CVs. So and actually that's great for us, because the platform we had before, you could only apply to one. And actually, when we were looking at the CVs, we ourselves maybe thought that that person would be suited to a different area. We would have to go back and ask them, okay, actually, would you prefer to apply for this one? So actually now with the platform we have this year, you can apply for more than one. We may decide to only progress you for one of them if we think you might be stronger and have a better chance of progressing in one area. But of course, if you're interested in more than one area, then do apply and let us know why. So again, you will have to make an application for each area. So you tell us why you're interested in that role. But yeah, you're not capped at just one.
Perfect. And just another question in terms of NCI alumni. So one of our students is just wondering if there are any NCI students currently employed with Mazars.
Yes, I am actually an NCI student before. So I did a bachelor's degree in Dundalk Institute of Technology. I did business degree, and then I went from that into recruitment. But I ultimately wanted to go in-house into a HR team and into a talent acquisition role, which I wanted to have a human resource background then as well. So I did the HRM diploma in NCI, and well, here I am in working in a HR team now. So which is great. In terms of accountancy and trainees, yes, we have people who have joined us from NCI. Of course, I can't give their names because that would be a GDPR issue, but yes, we do have people with us from NCI.
I think actually did two girl twins. Did they join you? I think they might have.
Yes, in tax. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it could be difficult to tell them apart, because the actually they would wear great. Their outfits would be great, but they would be different. Like it would be the same outfit, but a different color scheme. So you're trying to pick out which one, who's who. But yes, they're still with us. They've just done Cap 2s, I think.
Brilliant.
Perfect. And look, we have a really diverse background of students. So obviously we have programs that are dedicated purely on accounting, and we also have students who, for example, do a business degree. So one of the questions from the chat was there, if in order to apply for Mazars for audit and assurance, for example, would you prefer as an applicant to have a degree in accountancy, or would you also accept students with the business degree?
We prefer a mix of both. We don't want just one or the other, and that's to generate new ideas. If somebody has, if everybody just had an accountancy degree, everybody would be thinking like an accountant. If somebody has a business degree, they might be thinking a little bit more analytical, or more about the business side of things. And if someone has a science degree, again, they're thinking differently. So we like a mix of all, because we are a challenger. We like to do things a bit differently. We want all these different ideas bouncing around. So there is no preference whatsoever. And when people come in as a trainee, everybody receives the same training at the same level, and they move up, and they so it's a 3-year program. Everybody moves up this 3 years at the same level, regardless of whether there's exemptions or not.
So I do understand there is quite diverse population at Mazars, if we can put it that way. It would be really interesting to hear about the work culture. Do you find that people interact between one another, between departments, or if there are any projects that they can work together? So it would be interesting to hear about the culture at Mazars.
Yeah, it's great, and it was a bit. This year we were meant to have an international day. So of course we've St. Patrick's Day, and we're originally a French company, so you've Bastille Day, but we want to do an international where in our canteen we would have we've a big large Filipino community, and a lot of people over from South Africa as well, so where everybody would showcase their own cuisines and the different traditions that they would have for their specific day, which got closed down. So not closed down, didn't get to go ahead because of COVID. So stuff like that is what we would be doing as well. And then we've different, although we're working from home, we had we had drag bingo for Pride, and we did that online. One of the Dublin's famous drag queens joined us, and she hosted a drag bingo. That was great fun. We'd paint and Prosecco, where everybody received a pack with a canvas and paints and their Prosecco, and we logged on to a Zoom call where an artist then went through how to do a specific painting, but everybody joins that. So obviously people are, everybody kind of has their group within their audit team, or, if you're in tax or in consulting, but then for these kind of events, everybody gets together.
And look, with the exams more specifically, so there are students who, for example, wouldn't be really aware of the difference between ACA and ACCA. So again, is there any particular preference in terms of what kind of exams people need to do?
No preference at all. We have a mix of both, and I was telling Caroline at the start, we've both a mix of ACA and ACCA, and each person that comes in will be paired with somebody who has either completed as a mentor who has already completed ACA or ACCA and can help them out. And there's no preference really, except for financial advisory, who prefer ACCA, and that's just because of the nature of their work. It's very project based. It's not like audit has a busy season, say from kind of October time to March, so the summertime suits them, where they take the time off and do their accounting exams. You have 6 to 8 weeks off there. But for financial advisory, it doesn't suit, just based on the nature of their work. It's ACCA for them, because you can kind of take the exams as they come, whereas ACA, you take them in a block. So that's the only difference, actually. I probably should clarify.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So thank you so much. I don't know, Caroline, do you have any other questions from Instagram?
Instagram and the chat, I might just ask it. It's about traveling.
Yes.
And say if somebody's on their training contract, can they travel internationally, or do they wait till the training contract is over?
There is some circumstances. Yeah, there's some circumstances where they might be on secondment or going to another office. Like, we do a lot of work with UK and France, whether it's training for a specific area. So we've a new area, quantitative solutions, within our audit department, which is a lot larger in the UK. So we've had some correlation with training for that. But in terms, and we've a move program, which is a 6-month swap. And again, that's used for that kind of learning period. If they do something that we don't, or we do something that they don't, there could be a switch so that we could change it. But most of the travel would happen after they've qualified. And because that really is for your own sake as well, because there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of exams, there's a lot of you're doing a lot of your own study at home as well. So if you're kind of doing it in your training contract, it might be a bit more difficult. But then after the 3 years or 3.5 years, we've had people who've gone to South Africa, who've gone to France. We've had people who've joined us from South Africa and the Philippines as well. Last year, there was a girl from Italy who joined us for 4 months. She actually stayed with me because I had a spare room, and we had a great time. So yeah, there's travel, but I would say it mainly happens after the contract is finished.
Perfect. Look, I think we're out of time. So I want to say thank you. That was actually so interesting, and I've learned so much. I don't know, do you want to spend your last minute just pitching Mazars there? Because I think definitely there's huge interest amongst the students. Yeah,
like there's videos you can watch of all the trainees. Will be going on LinkedIn, and we might not necessarily get to chat on at careers fairs as we would previously. But I think where people will see a difference in joining Mazars is the responsibility and the client interaction that you will get from nearly day one. We look for ambitious people and those who want to really get stuck in and get involved, and again, challenge the way we do things as well, because we want to, give our clients something different than just the normal service that they might get elsewhere. So I definitely think it's somewhere where you can make a difference. And I know that people who have joined us and where we've grown so much, those employees can see where they have made a difference and made an impact to the team. So I think that's something that's very important when you join Mazars.
Brilliant. Look, Katie, thank you so much.
Thanks for asking me.
Thanks a million. See you later.
Bye. Thanks, Caroline. Bye,
Bye.
Karina.
Bye.